Why did I want to go into the lettings business? Well, if I'm really honest with you, I didn't choose to go into lettings. What we were looking at was setting up our own business, and initially there were 4 criteria that we wanted to make sure tick the box. One was it had to be heavily branded. All my experience in the past has been sales and marketing. 2, it had to be cash generative. I didn't want a lot of stock or a lot of money tied up in stock that was going to basically cost me a lot of money. 3, it had to be in a market that was growing. And importantly, with a growth market, what you wanted was an understanding of the market. And if it was growing, how much of that could we actually take in terms of market share? And finally, the most important thing really, I guess, it was using the skills that Sally and I had from our previous employment and previous backgrounds that could maximise the benefit of our business. We were very fortunate. We met a friend of ours, Adrian Walton, who has 2 franchises, one in Stone and one in Stafford in Staffordshire. And he and his wife, Jo, were absolutely fantastic. They devoted probably 3.5, 4 hours to us. And we were able to ask all the questions that you would probably not get the chance to if you weren't either in franchising or if you weren't with what I would call the Belvoir sort of ethos. And that is just sharing best practice. So having looked at all that and gone through the days and weeks of considering do we, don't we, we came to central office and met the team there. And it wasn't a hard sell. That's, I think, the most important aspect of looking at Belvoir from a franchising point of view. If it's a hard sell, don't go close to it. If you've got to sell something really hard, then something's wrong. And we spent a lot of time really thinking about it and looking at the benefits. And then, of course, next step was research and really finding out as much about the market. Actually, we researched 3 areas, which took over a period of about 3 months, looking at each of the areas in particular, finding out about the data from the local councils, getting as much information off Rightmove as possible about the competitors, average price, average values, and over about a month we discounted one as not really, we felt, being right. And we then looked at 2 other areas, one of which was split between a rural and then a very heavy centred town, industrial town, and the other one which was basically splitting the M54, and that was Telford. After another couple of months of research, I'd looked at Telford with Sally, and we went and had a look with Dorian, the managing director, and I liked what I saw, but I didn't really understand the competition at the time. But there was one competitor, who I will not name, who had really taken quite a lot of market share in about 3 years. And I thought, well, if a new entrant into the market has grabbed 8-9% market share, then what that would potentially say is some of the competitors might not be as aggressive or might not be as switched on maybe as in some of the city centres. And that pretty much confirmed it to us that that was the area that we should look at. And next steps from there were really planning. Having been an Army officer in the Reserve Forces for many, many years, what we've done and what Sally's done in her previous in nursing and running wards was to plan meticulously. If you don't plan, you won't get where you think you're going to get to. And so we spent hours and hours and hours with spreadsheets and looking at what we needed, how we needed it, again referencing central office, because one of the critical things is you need your office. But at what level did we want to be at? How much could we afford? So there was a full P&L done. We had to convince the banks that it was worthy lending us money. And again, central office were fantastic. And because the Belvoir brand is known, The banks are willing to loan up to 70% and you have to find 30%. So that was terrific. And you will not normally get that from a bank, even in really tough conditions. So the other thing was really then making sure that we knew where we wanted to locate ourselves. And we were very lucky again. We walked past with the Belvoir property guy and he said, well, this looks like it might be coming up. And sure enough, he helped us get that and secured that location. Then really it was what comes next. Well, I'd never done this before. Sally hadn't done it before. So really it was, well, what do we need to make an office operational from, let's say, the 1st of October as it was to the end of December as the plan was. And the most important thing was the phone line, because BT take forever. And without a phone line, you can't market, you can't do anything, you can't contact people. Designs for the office, and then driving forward, the brand and what we were going to do, coming up with your marketing plan, initial launch plan. We didn't have a launch party. I thought it was going to be a waste of money. I'd rather launch in the press and on the internet than have a dozen people in your office. So it's really all about choices.